Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Tony and I am a homeschooling mom to 4 kids. Now I'm usually reviewing curriculum or giving some sort of homeschool advice or tips or things like that. Today could kind of fall in that category, but I'm sharing something that I feel like I have to share. Have you ever been to a restaurant and had a pretzel bun, like a cheeseburger on a pretzel bun? Or I know even like fast food places are now having these, and it sounds like one of those things that like, oh, those are amazing and I could never make those, they're so hard. They're not. I have a recipe for pretzel rolls, which can either be made small, like little pretzel rolls that you could just eat by itself, or you can make them bigger so they're actually like pretzel buns that you can cut in half and put a cheeseburger on or make it a sandwich or something like that. They're so easy. So I'm gonna show you how to make them today, just so that you can see that this is super attainable and your life is not gonna be complete unless you know how to make homemade pretzel rolls. So stay tuned. Okay, so let's go. First thing we need to do is we need 1.5 cups of warm water. So I am just going to use tap water and just make it a little bit hot. That's a little too much. Okay, so 1.5 cups of warm water, and then you are going to do 1 tablespoon of yeast. I just use this Red Star Active Dry Yeast. I used to bake a whole lot, so I buy it by the jar, and it stays pretty good as long as you keep it in the fridge. Otherwise, you can just buy like a packet, a couple little packets. So you are going to do 1 tablespoon of yeast, dump it in your warm water, and add 2 teaspoons of sugar. 1, 2. Stir it just a little bit so it doesn't get all clumpy. You're gonna let that just sit there for like 5 to 10 minutes while you're getting everything else ready. And that's going to activate the yeast. So like, that's really not that complicated. All right, now if you have a stand mixer, it's really, really easy and wonderful. If you don't, you can use this, but do this by a hand mixer, but the stand mixer is a lifesaver if you have one of these. Okay, so the next thing we're gonna do is 4.5 cups of flour. So I'm gonna go ahead and dump that in here. Have you guys ever made these before? If you've made these, let me know. But oh my goodness, my favorite bread probably in the whole wide world is a pretzel roll. 2, 3, 4, and then a half. So I'm just gonna cheat and eyeball it here and do a half. Okay? Then, then you're gonna add 2 teaspoons of salt into this. So we're gonna add 2 teaspoons of salt. 1, 2, and 4 tablespoons of melted butter. Okay, so I have 4 tablespoons of melted butter, and I'm just gonna dump that in there and mix this around. Then, if you can you see how thick that is? So that yeast and the water and the sugar got all thick and bubbly. So now this is gonna go into here, mix with our flour. And then I put it up a little higher just to get it mixed in real good. So this doesn't seem wet enough, so I'm gonna actually add a little bit more warm water because it's a little dry. It's not really coming together. So if you need to, you can add a little bit more water. You just have to eyeball it. Now we've got a dough going. Okay, that's pretty good. So then you're going to, so what you want is a nice ball. You just want a nice dough ball here. Now you're just gonna leave it in here and let it rest for 1 hour. It's gonna rise for 1 hour, so just let it sit there. I cover it and let it rest for an hour, and then we'll be back. So I just cover it with a tea towel like this, a clean tea towel, and then let it rest. So we'll be back in an hour. Okay, we're ready for step 2. So here is my dough, which you can see doubled in size. So you're just waiting for it to double like this, and because remember it was pretty small. So the next thing you're gonna do is punch it down, which my kids love to help with this too sometimes. So we're gonna punch it down. So it looks like that. Then we are going to separate it. Now, if you wanna make big pretzel buns, then you'll wanna separate it into 8 different buns. You can cut it or you can tear it. A lot of times I actually like to cut it so that it is more uniformed. So I would just cut it in half and in half again. So just decide if you want to do big pretzel buns, and they're big. I mean, humongous. I'm actually making this for us and another family that we're gonna have dinner with. So I think I'm gonna do the small rolls tonight. So I'm going to do, there's 10 of us, so I'm gonna cut some of these a little bit in half again. Now I do have parchment paper on this one, and I have one of those slip mats. I just have one of those, so I line my thing with that just in case so that they don't stick. I don't know if you have to. I would use parchment paper just in case to make sure. So you'd either get 8 big rolls or 16 small rolls. So now you're just gonna take these guys and you're gonna roll them into a little ball. And I kind of just pinch them so that it's nice and smooth on the top and it's like pinched at the bottom. And that's all you're gonna do. So do that for each one. These have like 4 different steps to them, which is why it might seem overwhelming. But I wanted to do this video to show you guys that it's not hard. You just have to take the time to come back you come back after an hour, and then these are gonna raise now for another hour. So you just have to have the time to do it, but I promise you, they're so worth it. It is the most delicious bread in the whole entire world. So I hope you guys will try this at home, because it's amazing. I don't make them that often, and it's one of those things that I'm like, why don't I make it more often? I should. It's like homemade bread. Do you guys ever make homemade bread? I don't do it too often. I do it on holidays and stuff. But whenever I do it, I'm like, why don't I make homemade bread more often? Because especially if you have a stand mixer, it's super easy. It's just time consuming. It's just the whole like letting it rise and then separating it, letting it rise again. It's the same kind of thing. So, but homemade bread is amazing. So I have 16 of my rolls ready to rise. They're just gonna sit on this tray for about an hour. I'm gonna cover it again with my sheet that I covered with for when it was rising before, my clean towel. It's not a sheet, it's a towel. And I'm just gonna let it sit here. It does say to cover with, you can use saran wrap if you don't have like kitchen towels that are clean or whatever. You can use saran wrap too, but it's just gonna kind of trap in the heat. So I'll see you again in an hour. All right guys, we're at step 3 now. So these have been rising for about an hour. So let's see what they look like inside. So look at that, they're huge. You guys see? They doubled in size. So keep in mind, if you want to have, these probably would be big enough for like a burger if you're gonna make it yourself, but if you want to use these for like a pre-made, you know, burger patty type of thing or a big sandwich or something, then you might want to keep them at 8 instead of cutting them down to 16. But these are still really big. So when you leave them, and I've done it before, when you leave them and just do the big, huge buns and just do 8 of them, they're like They're huge, super, super big. So these will just be rolls, like I said. All right, so the next step is we're gonna take these over to a big pot of boiling water, and I'll show you what the next step is. Okay, so we are on our almost final step. So what is this, step 4, I think? We're on step 4. Okay, so for this step, you're gonna bring your buns over here by a big pot of boiling water. I just put water in, kind of like a simmer boil, and you're gonna take a 1/4 cup of baking soda, and I'm hoping I have enough here. And you're just going to dump this in. Now you have to do it slowly because otherwise it'll explode all over your, look at that. I have almost enough. And it like bubbles up, so just do a little bit because it'll like explode everywhere. Okay, thank you. So you need a slotted spoon, and you're just gonna take each one of these, you're gonna drop it in for 30 seconds on each side. So I just drop them in just like this. I do about 4 at a time. I'm doing kind of similar, kind of at the same time, so you can wait about 30 seconds. And then you're gonna flip them over. So it's probably been about time. You just flip each one over with your little slotted spoon. You want to get both sides done. This is what gives you that pretzel effect. And let these guys hang out for a second. See, this is really easy. It's just a long process, but each step is really easy. Okay, so that's probably good enough. Now you just take them out, let them drip a little bit, put them back on their sheet. That's it. We are so close to being done. I'm gonna drop another guy in here. Another one. Okay. And just continue on until you have them all done, and then I'll show you what we're gonna do next. Okay, so we're on the last couple of these. They've all been in the water for 30 seconds each. I'm gonna turn my water off. Okay, now is the fun part. Make sure, I would go ahead and set your oven to preheat it to 375 while you are doing all this. If your oven's like mine, it takes a while to preheat. So, my oven is preheating to 375. Now, all I'm gonna do is take a nice sharp knife. Okay, my oven's ready. So, I'm going to take this and you're just gonna slit an X on the top that gives you that pretzel look. Sometimes I actually find that it's easier to do the knife upside down. So you're just gonna slit an X across the top on each one of these. Make sure your knife is sharp enough or it's not gonna do it. And this gives you that like the white X on the top when the rest of it's dark all around. So good. So the other thing you're gonna need is 1 egg beaten. You are gonna need a pastry brush. Unfortunately, I ran the dishes while I was waiting for this to rise, and my pastry brush is in the dishwasher and it's not done yet. So we're gonna have to improvise. So if you don't have a pastry brush, you'll get to see if my trick is gonna work. So see, can you guys see? I'm just cutting a little X on the top of each one. And these are gonna puff up in the oven, so don't worry about them looking like wrinkly right now. My girl said that they looked like brains. I guess they kind of do, but they're so good. Oh my goodness, so good. Okay, so I've got an X on the top of each one. So now you are going to take your little scrambled egg here, and I'm gonna use a little spatula. I've never used this before. Like I said, my pastry brush is in the dishwasher. So you just wanna take a little bit of egg and brush it on the top of each one. It's a lot easier if you actually use a pastry brush, but this works. So you do want this. This is gonna help with the browning on top of each one, so go ahead and do this. We are almost done and ready to put these in the oven, and the hardest part is, not eating them as soon as they come out of the oven. Okay, here's the last step before they go into the oven. You need some kosher salt, like the thick, big grains of salt is best. When I used to make these all the time, I bought this big container of it, and I kept that in the pantry. I don't have any right now, so I actually stole this little bag of salt from we have like a big bag of frozen pretzels, you know, that you can get from the store, and we never use all this. So I'm gonna use this. If you don't have, so see, this is like that real thick, big pieces of salt. You could either do without salt, you could season it with everything bagel seasoning. I thought that would probably be really good. I haven't done that, but since we're taking these to other people, I'm just gonna do regular salt. But you just sprinkle some salt on top. You could probably season it with whatever seasoning you like. Dill would probably be good, or Italian seasoning, or you could just put garlic, like garlic salt on top. That would be yummy. Or you could just do plain. Especially if it's gonna be like a burger bun, then I think you could just keep it plain. You wouldn't even need the salt because you're gonna have all those toppings on your burger. But it is yummy if you wanna do it the right way. Get some of this thick salt because it does make a difference. It's really good. So the last step, your oven's at 375. Throw these in the oven for 12 to 14 minutes and they're gonna be beautiful. Just wait. Okay, so I'm gonna throw these in. They're not hot yet, so I don't know why I'm putting my mitts on. That's kind of weird. They're sitting right here. I don't know why I was putting my mitts on. Okay, so we're gonna throw these guys in here. Ow, I broke my hand. Throw this one in here. Maybe I should have left the oven mitts on. Okay, set the timer for 12 to 14 minutes. I'm gonna do 13 minutes and I'll show you, I'll be right back. They're ready. You guys ready to see this? All right. Oh, that always happens. Okay, hold on a second. Oh, these look so good. Oh my goodness, guys, look at this. Aren't those beautiful? Oh my goodness. All right, so it depends on the oven. I've made these when we lived at our other house, and usually it was 12 to 14 minutes. Today, to get them as brown as I wanted, because they were a little light, it was probably close to like 19, 20 minutes, maybe. So I would set it for 12 to 14, I would say, and then just keep an eye on it, and if you need to add more time to get them a little bit darker for your preference, then do it. But aren't these gorgeous? Oh my goodness. Look, I just want to show you, this is, see that X on the top? That is what you want it to look like. You want that beautiful X where it pops up and you can see the salt on it. Oh my goodness, so good. And see how big and fluffy they are? So yummy. Okay guys, that's it. Those are my famous pretzel rolls. It's not my recipe. I don't know where I got it a long time ago. I found it on the internet. So I won't take credit for it, but they're amazing and really good. And I will put the recipe in the comments section. Let me know if you make them. I would love to hear how it turns out for you, and if you decide to use them just as rolls with butter, or if you use it as a hamburger bun or whatever. So good, please try them. Take my word for it, and my entire family's word. They get so excited when I decide to make these pretzel rolls. So if you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you do, so you can be notified every time one of my new videos comes out. So thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.